Hi, very good day to everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. Today's topic is about the influencing factors on education or education-related theories, policies, and practices. Now, in the previous session, we learned about the changes that happens in terms of education theories, education-related theories. For example, uh, earlier days we used to learn formally, and now it has been accepted that informal learning is more effective than formal learning. This is a new theory. So based on this, colleges have accepted to let students to learn informally than formally. Universities have accepted to do some assessments in informal ways instead of formal ways of earlier days. This is the new theory. So based on this, universities have developed policies, the government has developed policies. And based on this, we are practicing it. Okay, so that is the first topic we learned. Now, today's topic is about uh, the factors influencing those theory changes, those policy changes, those practice changes. What is influencing? Why these theories to be changed? Why these policies to be improved based on the theory? Why these practices to be changed based on this theory? What is influencing? What are the factors? Like, for example, if I take this to a different practical example here, if you see someone having some obesity, too weight, too heavy for his height, right? Everyone has a height. Based on the height, you have to have a weight, right? If you have additional weight, if you are obese, that is a problem. Now the question is, when you go to the doctors to say that based on my height, and my weight is too much. If you say this to the doctor would figure out what are the factors influencing your weight that you are putting on. So they would say the food you eat is one of the factors. If you eat too much, you put on weight. And they will figure out if you don't walk, if you don't do some exercise, if you don't go for some jogging, if you don't have any physical work, that may put your weight on as well. That's number two. Third factor would be if you have some kids at home, when you feed them, the leftover of those kids, if they don't eat everything, you may use that, you may eat it. You take your lunch, but you feed your kid. When the kid is enough with the leftover, you don't want to throw it because it's food, so you eat it, and that will give you some excess energy, excess calories, then you put on weight. These are all factors. The doctors would say, cut your food, start walking in the evening, don't eat any leftovers of your kid. You feed the kid, you serve the kid in the plate, you serve the food in the plate of the kid, the amount they need to really eat. Don't oversupply, don't overserve it. If you do it, you put on weight. So this is the factor. All right, so if you figure out the factor exactly what the factors that influence this problem, we can sort that problem out. In this particular topic, we need to study what factors are influencing these new theoretical changes, and what factors are influencing the policy changes, and what factors are influencing these practice changes. That is what this answer is about. Now, economical factors, okay, when government has funding, resource allocations, based on this, you may have to develop your theory. For example, earlier days, we used to study from home, we used to study from our books, we used to write things in our book, in our tables. We didn't have any mobile phones, we did not have any iPads, no tablets, no computers, no printers. The list I gave you now, if you look at a personal's table today, students' table today, you would see all of it. You have a computer, you have a monitor of that, you have a CPU, you have a tab, maybe you definitely have a phone, and you have your internet connection as well. If you don't have those things, it is not on study table. Okay, this is because we have some resources now. Parents, they are able to afford this. So when you allocate some funds for your kids, yes, if you take governments allocates fund for this as well. What they do, they they give laptop for kids. They say there are programs in countries, a laptop for a kid. Okay, so every student in the class they get a laptop, government funds, that is funding. Okay, so this is developing a theory, because the theory is if you have some digital device like this, you have access to knowledge in different areas, you can learn things easily, you have everything available to you, so you can learn many things. So that theory allows you to develop a policy. You have to fund on this. You should have digital classrooms, you should have digital whiteboard, you should have internet inside classes, and so on. So this is the policy development. For this, they fund. When you have the funds, you treat this policy. If you don't have the funds, this policy, this theory doesn't apply. Okay, if you look at a country, a third world country like India and sort of Sri Lanka, those countries, they have the theory, but they don't have the funding. So you won't see classrooms uh, digitalized. You don't have that because you don't have the funding. So funding is a factor that decides as to what to do in your class. Recently, I heard one message from a school. The government is not able to bear the cost of this digitalization, digital classrooms, and so on. So the school decided to collect the funds from the school students and from some other sources as well to make some digital classrooms for those students. I don't know if that is legal or illegal, but I'm just talking about the story, the case that happened. So here it is digitalized. There was no fund by the government that influenced your policy, your theory. If the government doesn't have the funds to digitalize your class, how can they say a policy that you should have internet inside your class? You should have a digital whiteboard in your class. They can't say it. So it's a fact. Okay, that is one factor that we may consider that influence the theoretical change, that influence the policy change and the practice change. The second one would be the labor market demands. I just made a lecture, physical lecture for some graduates just now about 7 till 8 o'clock. That was a physical delivery. In that classroom, I was talking about certain information for them. I was really teaching as to how to write a CV to find a job because they just graduated. They want to go to Middle East to find some job. They're all quantity service. So they invited me as a guest lecturer to deliver. And in that lecture, I made mention of one point, which is this. I showed them one CV, in fact, the job advertisement of a company's job advertisements, and I told them, look at this list of things that the company is expecting from you to do. If you look at a job advertisement, they say, if you're a teacher, you should be able to use multimedia projector. You should be able to use digital whiteboard. You should be able to use internet. You should be able to use computer. You should be fast enough in your keyboard to type things. These are all list of things the advertisement may list if they want to recruit a teacher. Okay, so if you look at this list, we call this a job description, right? What job you're going to do if you get a job, what work you will be doing in an office, in your school as a teacher. So they list it first. This is what you will be doing. Okay, this is in an advertisement. Any advertisement you look at, you can see the list. Now, when you look at this list, okay, you compare yourself. Right, I'm a teacher. I'm applying for a teaching job uh, and the list of things that I will be doing in the classroom and in the school. These are the things. You can look at the list and see, am I capable of doing it? Can I do this? Can I use whiteboard? Can I use digital whiteboard? Can I use computer? Can I download this? Can I use internet, Google, ChatGPT, all those things? These are all things that you have to do. So they list it and you have to match it. Now, when you mesh these lists, you would see half of the things you are comfortable doing it. 25% of them you can somewhat do. 25% of them you can't do it. Okay. In that case, you are or you were not prepared by the college, by the school you learned from to do those things. You don't know how to do it. Okay, because they don't look into the labor market requirement. The labor market says a teacher should be able to do this. Okay, if the university doesn't teach you all of those, then you have a gap, right? So this is why universities, they look into new theories, new policies, new practices to see what does the labor market require you to know. Okay, so based on that, we definitely have to develop some new skills. So I told those students, look at 25 job advertisements in Middle East because they're looking for jobs in Middle East. If you look at those 25 advertisements from 25 different companies, you would list out about 50% of those things that you know. 25% of them you may somewhat know. 25% of them you don't know. So if you don't know this 25% of what the labor market require you, you won't get the job. So you have to list those things and find some way to learn that, and you have to apply for your job. That is when you'll get the job. So this is the theory I told them, but the same theory that applies to university. Universities, you look into CVs, sorry, in fact, advertisements, and you figure out the most required skills by the industry, by the market. Then you teach those in your school. You make a policy, I want to teach this. So your policy says, I want to teach this. And you practice that as well, that teaching, that subject delivery, that assessment marking of that particular new thing has to be practiced so that you can prepare the students ready for the job ready graduates at the end of your graduation. Okay, so the labor market demand makes influence on developing new theories, new policies, and new practices. That's another factor. The technology, sorry, the technology is another factor where when the technology emerges, when you have Zoom, when you have Teams, when you have Kahoot, when you have uh, Coursera, when you have Khan Academy, when you have this kind of facilities for you, you need to definitely integrate this in your practices, in your theories, in your teaching, in your education industry. Otherwise, you can't cope up with the technological requirements if one country applied technology to teach their kids and the other country they ignore it. Then you can't enter into international labor market. You can't be tallied, you can't be balanced with what is happening in the world. So technology is a factor every country consider now to deliver, to develop theories, to make policies, and to practice education related stuffs. Technology is another factor. Globalization is also another factor that we develop things. Globalization is about uh, what you study in your classroom is not local anymore. You need to be able to study what is happening in the world. The same thing that a class student learning from Maldives, the same class students learning from the UK, they should be able to meet the same requirement, same level of study, same type of content, same type of syllabus. Okay, otherwise you can't cope up with that stuff. So this is again another factor that develop theories. Maldives, Sri Lankans, Indians, they develop policies that we need to learn things cross-border, cross-cultural matters. What's happening in England, we should be able to understand. What technology is emerging in Silicon Valley, USA, that need to be integrated in our system. We need to teach those things that way. So that's globalization. That's another factor. Okay. Teacher autonomy and professional development. This is again another stuff. Now, when you work for an organization, the organization is responsible to develop the employees. When you work for organizations, they help you to go for some CPD, continuous professional development. They give you some free training, some scholarships. If you work in universities after 2 years of teaching, they give you scholarship to do your masters and PhD. You join the university with a bachelor's degree. You teach for some bachelor's students, and after 2 years of experience, they give you a chance to complete your masters. They give you the scholarship, and they send you. They never teach you inside the university. They also have a degree, master's degree, but they don't teach that inside. They send you to UK. They send you to USA on scholarship. They send you to Norway on scholarship because they want you to go there, learn what's happening over there because they have different practices, they have different policies, they have different theories there. Learn that, and you have to come back in here. Okay, so you train the students, sorry, you train your employees, your teachers. Okay, you do this. When this trend develops, you have to apply this as well. You have to You have to develop new policies on that. That whoever they join our university as a lecturer, they'll be going through their masters and PhD here. And academic stuffs, it's very easy to do. I love this profession. The reason is because if you work for any organization, you don't need to report to anyone. You have no boss. You have students, you teach them, and that's it. You don't need to report to anyone. You don't go there and make a signature there. You don't. And you have your academic freedom. We call this, we use this terminology in academics in universities, academic freedom, meaning they never track where you are. They never ask you why are you late. They never ask you why did you finish the class late. They can't. If they ask that question, the next day is your resignation day. Okay, because university they give you more freedom for lecturers, and usually if you work for a company, they give you 40 hours of learning, 40 hours of work. In fact, you have to do 40 hours at least. Some companies 45 hours. But in universities, they have limited that every 10 hours a week of teaching, 10 hours only you teach. The rest of the hours is your independent hours. You prepare yourself to teach that 10 hours. Some universities, they give you monthly 15 hours of teaching, so about 3 hours, 4 hours of teaching weekly. The rest is your time. They don't ask anything, what you do, where are you, why did you do this, why did you come on time, why did you go early. There's no such question. Okay, so these are all developing. Based on this, we have to develop a policy. If a university says you have to teach 40 hours, you can't have that policy. You can't practice that. How can you get a lecturer to teach 40 hours? You can't. He needs to have his free time to upgrade himself, update himself. Okay, he has to learn new things to deliver. Okay, a good teacher is a good learner. Don't admit your kid to a teacher who completed his studies. You admit your kid to a teacher who learns and teach, who is still learning. That's a theory. So you should let the teachers to learn themselves. So you have to give them free time. So you have to develop policies on this. This is emerging earlier days. If you're a teacher now in the school, okay, the school. I remember once that one teacher was speaking to another teacher when I was in grade 8, 9 time. One teacher was speaking to another teacher saying that that teacher, he's spotting one different teacher saying that he was the one making time to him, and he doesn't have any subjects for him to teach. He kept lots of free subjects, and we don't have even one subject. All 6, 7 subjects I teach. I only have free time during the interval time. This is not right. Okay, if you have teachers and if you have 8 subjects in the 6 subjects or 8 subjects in your school day, you cannot expect the teacher to teach all 8 subjects. They need one subject break in between 2 subjects. So they take the first subject, next subject should be free for them, and the subject after then they start. Okay, then again another free subject, free. There is no subject lecturing for them. These are all new theories. They want teachers to take rest. How can you teach continuously like a machine? You can't, because you teach from your brain. It's not like working on the computer. Okay, so these are all new developments, new theories, right? So there are so many. Uh, right. Okay, so let me discuss one more. Research and theoretical developments as well. These are all another factor. There are so many dedicated researchers. They do researches on these educational theories. They just want to do theories. So they research about uh, technology related learning, work-based learning, informal learning, right? Whatever you're talking about teaching, in terms of teaching, in terms of assessment, they talk a lot. They do lots of research. We used to do only exams earlier. Now it's about assignments, it's about professional discussions, it's about portfolio development. There are hundreds of different ways we have figured out to assess a student's knowledge. Okay, so these are all coming up because researchers, they do research and they find out new theories like this. These are all factors as well that influence your that influence your changes of theory, policy, of practices. Okay, so let me conclude this class with these factors. There are so many factors that influence your theoretical, policy, and the practice changes in education. So you can do your own research and you can find out the factors that influence your choice of change. Thank you very much. I see you later.